They thought your silence meant weakness. They thought your absence meant defeat. But what they didn't know is that quiet doesn't mean powerless. Every second you've been still, you've been sharpening. Every moment you've been silent, you've been building. And now, people are starting to notice that shift in your energy, that calm confidence. It's not by accident. You've been too quiet lately. And suddenly they're realizing you're not the one to be messed with. Chosen ones. Listen, have you ever noticed how the most powerful storms start with an eerie, unsettling calm? That stillness before the thunder and lightning, that's you, that's your journey right now. I want you to close your eyes for a second and think back to a time when you were loud, always trying to prove your worth, always in the center of the noise. Remember how draining that was? The constant chatter, the need for validation, the feeling that you had to be on all the time. It's like you were running a marathon, but the finish line kept moving. A few years ago, I was caught in this exact cycle. I was loud, I was everywhere, and I was exhausted. I was so worried about what everyone else thought of me that I completely lost touch with myself. I was a walking, talking billboard for "I'm trying too hard." But then something shifted. The universe, God, or whatever you want to call it, hit me with a spiritual 2x4. I realized I was giving my energy away for free. I was a spiritual philanthropist, but my own well was running dry, so I did something radical. I went quiet, I retreated from the noise, I stopped over-explaining myself, I stopped seeking external validation, and you know what happened? People noticed. At first they were confused. They'd ask, "What's wrong? Why are you so quiet?" But their confusion slowly turned into a different kind of respect. It's like they realized that my silence wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a sign of immense inner strength. This video isn't just about being quiet. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about understanding that your silence is a sacred space where your true power is cultivated. It's where your spiritual growth happens. And when you finally emerge from that silence, you don't have to say a word. Your presence, your aura, your energy, it will speak for itself. They'll know, they'll feel it, and they'll realize that you're not to be messed with. So stick with me to the very end, chosen ones, because we're about to unlock the 7 spiritual secrets of why being quiet is the loudest statement you can make. Point 1, the divine cloak of discretion. The first thing you need to understand, my friends, is that your newfound silence is not just a habit, it's a divine cloak of discretion. Imagine it as a spiritual invisibility cloak, not woven from fabric, but from wisdom, discernment, and a deep connection to your higher self. In today's age, where social media encourages people to broadcast every move, every success, and every thought, choosing to go quiet is almost revolutionary. It's counterintuitive, yet profoundly powerful. Every time you announce your plans too early, you're not just sharing them with those who truly support you, you're also exposing them to those whose intentions may be anything but pure. Envy, jealousy, and subtle sabotage are often hidden forces in human relationships, lurking in the shadows and waiting for opportunities to disrupt your progress. There's a reason the old saying goes, "The devil is in the details." The very details you casually reveal can become hooks through which negativity finds its way into your life, stifling your growth before it has a chance to blossom. Silence in this sense is not about secrecy, it's about strategy. It's the art of protecting your energy and your purpose from those who might undermine it, whether knowingly or unknowingly. When you choose to move quietly, you're not hiding, you're conserving. You're allowing the seeds of your dreams to take root and grow without external interference. And this isn't just spiritual talk. Modern psychology backs it up. Studies on social dynamics and human behavior show that oversharing can create vulnerabilities. The more people know about your weaknesses, plans, or private struggles, the easier it becomes for them, whether consciously or subconsciously, to manipulate situations against you. By keeping your cards close, you establish a protective boundary, creating a safe space where your spirit and purpose can flourish without unnecessary disruption. Think about how nature operates. A predator doesn't announce its hunt. It moves silently, precisely, and with focus, ensuring its survival through patience and timing. Rivers do not broadcast their destination. They quietly carve their way, reshaping landscapes over years, even centuries. The oak tree does not shout as it grows. It silently extends its roots and strengthens its trunk until one day it towers above everything else. Your life works in much the same way. By embracing silence, you allow your actions, not your words, to testify to your growth. The world doesn't need to hear your strategy, it only needs to witness your outcomes. This is where the real spiritual strength lies. You become so secure in your path, so confident in your purpose, that external validation loses its grip on you. The divine orchestrates your timing, ensuring that what is meant for you unfolds perfectly, without the interference of human noise or envy. Furthermore, silence sharpens your intuition and strengthens your spiritual discernment. When you're constantly talking, defending, or explaining your choices, your energy gets scattered. But when you retreat into stillness, your mind becomes a sanctuary, a space where insight and clarity can flow freely. Research in neuroscience even suggests that quiet reflection strengthens the brain's ability to process complex problems, engage in deeper creativity, and reduce stress. Spiritually, silence opens the channel between you and divine wisdom. You start to notice the subtle signs, those inner nudges, coincidences, or synchronicities that guide you toward your destiny. In stillness, you learn to separate authentic divine guidance from the empty distractions of human chatter. Silence, then, is not passive. It is a powerful spiritual tool, a megaphone for the voice of your higher self. On a deeper level, this practice of moving in silence is a declaration of identity. You are a chosen one, walking a path that not everyone will understand. The chosen do not need to announce every step because their journey is sacred. By protecting your plans, your energy, and your dreams, you're honoring the divine gifts within you. History itself gives countless examples. Think of great inventors like Nikola Tesla or leaders like Nelson Mandela. Their most transformative work was not done with constant publicity, but in quiet, hidden seasons of preparation. Even in the Bible, many of God's greatest works were developed in silence. Moses spent 40 years in the desert before stepping into his calling, and Jesus himself spent much of his early life in quiet preparation before his ministry began. Silence, therefore, is not emptiness. It is the sacred ground where destiny takes shape. Ultimately, choosing silence is more than a lifestyle. It is a spiritual posture. It says, I trust the timing of my life. I don't need to prove myself, explain myself, or announce myself. You operate on a frequency that not everyone can perceive because your connection is divine. In your quiet strength, you're not just building a career, a relationship, or a reputation. You're building a legacy. You're creating a life so aligned with purpose that no amount of envy, sabotage, or doubt can derail it. And in that quiet, unseen, unshakable space, you are unstoppable. Your silence becomes your shield, your sanctuary, and your secret weapon, reminding the world that true power does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it waits, and sometimes it simply moves in silence until the results speak so loudly they cannot be ignored. Point number 2 is about cultivating your inner garden. Picture your soul as a lush, vibrant garden, each corner filled with hidden potential, waiting to bloom into something magnificent. Now imagine constantly filling that space with chatter, distraction, and noise. It's like running a weed whacker through a delicate flower bed, cutting through the beauty, scattering seeds haphazardly, and never giving the plants the chance to fully flourish. In the same way, when your mind is cluttered with constant activity, endless scrolling, gossip, overthinking, you drown out the quiet, subtle guidance that comes from your higher self. That stillness, that silence, is not emptiness. It's the sunlight and water your inner garden craves. Silence is more than just the absence of sound. It's an active state of listening and receiving. When you sit quietly, whether through meditation, prayer, or reflective contemplation, you allow the Spirit to speak. It's in these sacred pauses that insights come, nudges toward your true purpose, and the gentle unraveling of wisdom that cannot be heard over the cacophony of a busy mind. Neuroscience even shows that silence physically reshapes the brain, promoting neurogenesis in the hippocampus, the area responsible for learning, memory, and emotional regulation. In other words, quiet time doesn't just feed your soul, it rewires your mind for clarity, creativity, and profound understanding. The world, in all its brilliance and chaos, is designed to distract us. Every screen, notification, and loud voice is a subtle tug away from what is truly transformative. We are inundated with noise, external and internal, that keeps us reactive rather than reflective. Choosing silence is a radical act of rebellion against this endless distraction. It is a conscious choice to step off the treadmill of the trivial and into the fertile soil of your own being. When you water your inner garden with quiet, you begin to notice the little sprouts of purpose that have been there all along, passions, dreams, and intuitions that the world may never understand, but your soul has been longing to cultivate. Think about it this way. A well-tended garden, cared for with patience and intention, yields fruit that is vibrant, abundant, and life-giving. Compare that to a noisy, chaotic field where weeds grow unchecked. Sunlight is blocked and the soil becomes tired and depleted. Your inner life operates on the same principle. By dedicating time to silence, to reflection, and to being fully present with your spirit, you create the conditions for an extraordinary harvest. This is not just metaphorical. People who practice regular periods of silence and reflection report higher levels of emotional resilience, increased creativity, and a deeper sense of meaning in their daily lives. But cultivating your garden is not just about personal gain. The energy you nurture within radiates outward. A calm, centered, and purposeful soul impacts everyone you encounter. Your clarity becomes contagious. Your patience inspires. Your wisdom lights a path for others still lost in the noise. By protecting the sanctity of your inner garden, you not only honor yourself, but also become a vessel of transformative energy in a world desperately in need of it. So choose silence. Water your inner garden with intention. Sit in the stillness and listen, not to the clamor of the world, but to the whispers of your own soul and the guidance of the Spirit. Remember, the harvest from a quiet, well-tended garden is far richer, far more nourishing than anything the noisy, chaotic world can offer. In these moments of sacred silence, you are not idle. You are actively preparing the ground for greatness. You are a chosen one, tending to the seeds of destiny within. Next up, point 3, the art of observation. This isn't just about casually noticing things. It's a profound, almost sacred skill that sets the spiritually awakened apart from the rest of the world. When you are not busy speaking, you are listening, watching, and truly perceiving. You become a spiritual detective, a silent witness to the subtle currents that run beneath every conversation, every gesture, and every glance. The truth is, most people operate on autopilot, speaking and acting without understanding the impact of their energy or intentions. But you, as a chosen one, have developed the uncanny ability to read beyond what is immediately visible. You notice not only what people say, but also how their words resonate with their actions, their micro-expressions, and even the energy they bring into a space. It's almost like having a sixth sense for truth. Consider this: a room full of people can feel one way on the surface, but if you are observant, you can detect the undercurrents. The subtle tension between two co-workers, the unspoken alliance of a group, and the quiet discomfort of someone masking insecurity with bravado. You start to see who is genuinely connected to you, who brings harmony, and who might drain your energy. And here's the fascinating part: the more you practice observation, the more your mind begins to recognize patterns, repetitions in behavior, inconsistencies between words and deeds, and the energy of intentions that are concealed. Psychologists refer to this as emotional intelligence, but spiritually, it's far more profound. It's the ability to intuit truth without needing every detail spelled out, to sense authenticity versus pretense, and to navigate life with discernment. Now, some might think this makes you cynical or detached, but nothing could be further from the truth. Observation is not judgment, it's awareness. It is a godly quality because it allows you to respond to life rather than merely reacting to it. When you are aware of the hidden layers of interaction, you are no longer a pawn in someone else's game. You understand the subtle chess moves being played around you, and you make your moves with intention, strategy, and purpose. You become a quiet force in a world of noise, moving gracefully through challenges while others stumble blindly. This is not manipulation, it's wisdom. It's the ability to align your actions with your higher self, ensuring that every step you take serves your greater path. Being a master observer also strengthens your spiritual connection. When you notice energy, you begin to perceive the unseen, the vibrations that influence moods, the subtle pull of intentions, and the harmony or discord in environments. Science has even shown that humans are naturally attuned to mirror neurons, the cells that allow us to empathize and instinctively understand others' emotions. Your gift as a chosen one is simply that this skill is amplified and conscious. You can read situations not just through logic, but through intuition, sensing the invisible threads that connect all beings. In essence, the art of observation transforms silence into power. By observing carefully, you are gathering knowledge that many overlook, understanding dynamics that are hidden in plain sight, and responding with clarity rather than chaos. You are no longer a participant in the superficial layer of life. You are navigating its depths. And the truth is, this ability doesn't just protect you, it elevates everyone around you. When you observe with wisdom, your presence becomes a stabilizing, enlightening force. People feel it, even if they cannot put it into words. You are, in a very real sense, seeing beyond the veil. And that is the hallmark of the awakened chosen one. Point 4, the power of presence. This brings us to point 4, the power of presence. Many people underestimate just how transformative presence can be, especially for a chosen one. It's not about the loud gestures, dramatic speeches, or being the center of attention. True presence is subtle, almost magnetic. When you stop filling every moment with words, when you no longer feel compelled to explain yourself or narrate every thought, something remarkable happens. Your energy becomes noticeable. People start to feel it, even if they can't articulate why. That weight of calm, that aura of wisdom, is immediately distinct in a world that thrives on constant noise and distraction. Historically, the most influential figures have understood this intuitively. Consider leaders like Mahatma Gandhi or the ancient Chinese strategist Sun Tzu. Their power was not in how much they spoke, but in the way they carried themselves. Gandhi's quiet demeanor drew millions into a movement of non-violence, and Sun Tzu's carefully measured words in the art of war commanded more influence than armies of empty chatter ever could. Silence, when wielded correctly, becomes a form of authority. It signals that you are not reactive, that you operate from a place of thoughtfulness, and that your mind is always processing more than the average person can perceive. For the modern chosen one, this translates into real-world respect and sometimes a subtle fear, but in the best possible way. People are accustomed to constant noise, the endless scrolling, the non-stop talking, and the opinions thrown around without care. When someone steps into a room and doesn't immediately contribute to the chaos, it disrupts their expectation. They pause. They wonder. Who is this person? What are they thinking? What do they know that I don't? That mystery, that unknown depth is intoxicating, and that's power. It's not about intimidation through aggression. It's about commanding attention simply by being. Your presence, your calm, and your silent observation become a force field. People subconsciously respect you because they sense that engaging with you requires awareness and discernment. You don't demand respect. Your energy simply earns it. Think of it like the difference between a yapping chihuahua and a quiet, watchful lion. The chihuahua is frantic, constantly seeking attention, its noise filling every space, yet leaving little impact. The lion, however, is still. Every movement is deliberate, every glance carries weight. You feel the presence of a lion before it even makes a sound. That's the metaphor for the chosen one's presence. It's not aggression, it's mastery of self and environment. You learn to conserve your words, choosing carefully when to speak so that each time you do, it lands with precision, clarity, and impact. Silence doesn't make you invisible, it makes you unforgettable. Being this way also encourages others to step up. People respect the space you create by being grounded. They think twice before wasting words or energy around you. They realize that interacting with you is not a casual affair, it's significant. That is the quiet revolution of presence. It transforms interactions, it commands loyalty, and it cultivates a subtle but undeniable influence. For the chosen one, presence isn't optional. It's a tool, a shield, and a beacon all at once. It allows you to move through life with intention, with power, and with a kind of mystical authority that cannot be taught. It can only be embodied. Always remember, be the lion, not the chihuahua. Stand still, observe, and let your silence speak volumes. Presence is your silent roar, chosen one, and the world cannot help but take notice. Point 5, building a foundation on godly principles. Building a foundation on godly principles is one of the most underrated yet powerful ways to navigate life, especially for those chosen to carry a higher purpose. The world constantly tempts us with shortcuts, fleeting trends, viral approval, and surface-level success that fades as quickly as it appears. Social media tells us that popularity equals power, that recognition is the ultimate validation, and that instant gratification is the only path to fulfillment. But as a chosen one, your journey doesn't follow the shallow currents of public opinion. You are called to anchor your life in something far more enduring, a foundation rooted in the wisdom, discipline, and timeless truths of God. Think of it like building a house. You can pile sand high, paint it gold, and make it shine, but when storms hit, it crumbles. A life built on godly principles, however, is like a house on solid rock. It withstands storms, endures criticism, and grows stronger with every challenge. The power of silence cannot be overstated. While the world clamors for attention, your quiet moments become a sacred workshop for growth. In these moments, you study Scripture, reflect on your actions, and apply divine principles to every corner of your life. It's here, away from distractions, that you cultivate discipline, the kind that resists temptation, focuses on long-term vision, and pursues excellence even when no one is watching. Discipline isn't just about self-control. It's about aligning your choices with your higher calling, ensuring that every decision strengthens the spiritual architecture of your life. Faith is your blueprint, guiding your steps when the path seems uncertain, while purpose becomes the mortar that binds every action into a coherent, unshakable structure. What makes this journey even more profound is the freedom it brings. When you aren't preoccupied with what others think, you step into a kind of liberation that the world rarely understands. You no longer chase empty applause or fleeting recognition. Instead, you focus on what truly matters, pleasing God, walking in integrity, and fulfilling the unique mission assigned to you. This alignment between thought, action, and divine intention is not just a strategy for success, it is a spiritual armor. When your foundation rests on godly principles, external pressures, criticism, or setbacks lose their power to destabilize you. Your life becomes a living testament that strength, wisdom, and influence are not derived from the crowd's approval, but from unwavering faith and deliberate righteous action. Moreover, this process transforms your quiet grind into a sacred offering. Every late-night study, every moment of reflection, and every act of kindness done in humility becomes part of a legacy that no one can take away. It's a declaration to the universe that you are aligned with a divine plan and that your life is guided by a higher intelligence far beyond temporary trends. Even the greatest empires of history crumbled without a strong foundation, but the lives built on godly principles endure and inspire, silently radiating influence to all who cross their path. Being a chosen one means embracing the unseen work. The quiet cultivation of character, wisdom, and spiritual strength may not make headlines, but it crafts a life of real impact. Every prayer whispered, every principle applied, and every decision made in faith lays bricks in a fortress that the world cannot shake. In the end, this foundation, built on God's word, fortified with discipline and guided by divine purpose, is not just your protection, it is your power. It is the unshakable bedrock that allows you to thrive, lead, and leave a legacy that reflects the eternal truth. When you build on God, you build on something no storm, no trend, and no human judgment can ever destroy. Point 6 is all about reclaiming your creative energy, a power so many overlook in the chaos of everyday life. In a world that thrives on noise, chatter, and constant interaction, it's easy to forget that energy isn't infinite. Every time you speak unnecessarily, offer unsolicited advice, or engage in trivial conversations, you are spending your life force. This isn't just metaphorical, it's a biological reality. The human brain consumes nearly 20% of the body's energy, and when that energy is funneled into gossip, over-explaining, or seeking approval, it leaves less for imagination, problem-solving, and innovation. Think of energy as currency. A wise investor doesn't throw money at every fleeting opportunity. They reserve it, grow it, and channel it into ventures with lasting returns. In the same way, your creative energy must be conserved and directed toward what truly matters, or else it leaks away into the background noise of life. Silence, then, is not emptiness but a reservoir. When you hold back, when you resist the urge to comment on everything or prove yourself in every conversation, your energy begins to gather like water behind a dam. At first it may feel strange, even uncomfortable, because society has conditioned us to equate silence with weakness, awkwardness, or disconnection. But the truth is, silence is power. Neuroscientific research shows that moments of quiet actually allow the brain to form new neural pathways, boosting creativity and problem-solving skills. In silence, ideas ferment, visions sharpen, and intuition grows clearer. Just as a musician cannot create a melody without pauses between the notes, your creativity cannot flourish without intervals of stillness. The energy you store during silence doesn't sit idle. It strengthens, evolves, and waits for the right moment to pour forth as art, innovation, or wisdom. History gives us countless reminders of this truth. Nikola Tesla, often described as a man decades ahead of his time, would spend hours walking alone, silently designing machines entirely in his mind before ever touching a tool. His genius wasn't born in crowded rooms, but in solitude, where his energy wasn't scattered by the opinions of others. Emily Dickinson, who lived much of her life in seclusion, wrote poetry so profound that it continues to resonate across generations. Her quiet was not a retreat from life, but an immersion into its deepest layers, where her creative energy could crystallize into words that cut to the heart of human experience. Even modern-day innovation follows this rhythm. Many breakthroughs in technology, art, and science have sprung not from constant discussion, but from individuals who allowed themselves the silence to think differently, to see what others missed because they were too busy talking. There is also a deeply spiritual layer to reclaiming creative energy. Across traditions, silence has always been honored as a sacred practice. The Desert Fathers of early Christianity withdrew into the wilderness to listen to God's whispers. Buddhist monks meditate for hours in caves, training their minds to hear the subtleties of existence. Sufi mystics embrace stillness before erupting into ecstatic dance, channeling energy that is not dissipated but concentrated. In each case, silence is not a void to be feared, it is the space where divine communication occurs. Scripture itself reminds us that God speaks not through the earthquake or the fire, but through the gentle whisper. When you clutter your life with endless dialogue and distractions, you drown out that whisper. But when you protect your energy through silence, you create a sacred chamber where wisdom, guidance, and creative inspiration can reach you unfiltered. On a practical level, guarding your words is also about discipline. Every unnecessary conversation is like poking a small hole in a bucket. You may not notice the leak at first, but over time your energy is drained, and when it's time to create, you find yourself empty. By choosing silence over small talk, by withholding opinions that don't need to be shared, and by refusing to gossip or waste energy on negativity, you become like a vessel that gathers strength. And when the time comes to act, your contributions are no longer watered down. They are sharp, potent, and impossible to ignore. People begin to notice not because you've been loud, but because when you finally speak or create, the weight of your energy is undeniable. Reclaiming your creative energy is not just a strategy, it's a transformation. It's choosing to stop scattering your life force on the unworthy and instead concentrating it on what aligns with your purpose. It's learning to see silence not as absence, but as preparation. And it's recognizing that your energy, once gathered and refined, can become a force that changes lives, including your own. Remember, the loudest explosions are born from the deepest reserves. Your silence is not weakness, it is your strength. It is the crucible where your creative energy is purified, waiting for the right moment to break forth and illuminate the world with a brilliance that only you can bring. And finally, point number 7, the unmistakable shift in authority. There comes a moment in the life of a chosen one when the need to prove yourself simply evaporates. The words of Bruce Lee echo perfectly here. The wise man doesn't need to prove his wisdom, he simply is wise. That's you. That is your anointing in action. You've moved past the endless chase for validation, the likes, the approvals, the shallow nods of recognition. You have stepped into a realm where your presence itself is the validation. People sense it, whether they can articulate it or not. There is a magnetic authority in someone who no longer seeks permission to exist in their truth. Science even backs this up. Studies in psychology show that individuals who exude self-possession, calm confidence, and emotional regulation are perceived as more competent and influential. regardless of their formal titles or positions. It's not about showing off or dominating a room. It's about carrying an energy so aligned with purpose that it communicates volumes without a single word being spoken. The world has been conditioned to respond to noise, to the loud, the flashy, and the constantly performing. Social media amplifies it every day, everyone vying for attention, approval, and validation. But when they encounter you, someone who no longer dances to that tune, it creates cognitive dissonance. Their minds scramble to categorize you, to understand how someone can exist outside the endless loop of proving themselves. This is power. This is the aura of the chosen one. Historical figures like Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, and even modern thought leaders like Oprah Winfrey wielded this form of quiet authority. They didn't force their influence, they embodied it. People naturally gravitated toward them, drawn to the magnetic truth in their presence. Your shift in authority is not loud. It's seismic. It's the kind of energy that changes dynamics in a room the second you enter. Conversations pause, egos soften, and agendas adjust without anyone even realizing it. Psychologists call this dominance through self-assurance. But spiritually, it's far more profound. It's divine alignment. You are now operating from a place where your inner compass is the only direction you need, and your silence communicates volumes. Your boundaries are no longer negotiable, and your very existence commands respect. The loudest roars are often not the ones shouted, they are the ones felt, deeply and unmistakably. Being a chosen one means that the energy you carry becomes a statement. It is the statement that you are not to be underestimated, manipulated, or distracted. It is not arrogance, it is mastery. You are proof that authority doesn't need to be enforced. It simply radiates from those who have walked through fire, silence, and solitude to emerge unshakable. Every glance, every wordless interaction, and every calm decision communicates your inner sovereignty. People will either rise to meet your level or they will step aside. But either way, they recognize the undeniable truth. You are a force unto yourself, a living emblem of wisdom, purpose, and divine authority. Your presence is the boundary, your being is the power. And this, above all else, is the final, unmistakable mark of the chosen one. So, chosen ones, the next time someone asks you why you've been so quiet, smile. Don't explain, don't justify. Just let your peace, your presence, and your power speak for you. Your spiritual journey isn't a performance for an audience. It's a private dance with the divine. And the world is about to witness the beautiful result of your quiet dedication. Stay awake, stay quiet, and stay powerful. I'll catch you on the next one.